Hey there, welcome to 21 Secrets to Retail Success. I'm your host and facilitator, Nicole Sims. Welcome to day 20. Today we're talking to Megan Young Gamble, who is the CEO of Get to Level Consulting, which is a consulting firm that helps brands in beauty, personal care, and wellness go from idea to execution in stores. Today we'll talk about all things brand.
Recording. Hey, Megan, good afternoon. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you, Nicole?
Good, good, good. I know we have a little technical difficulty, but I'm so glad you're here with us today and you're still doing the interview and giving us great information today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and shout out to everybody joining us today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's get right to it. So we're going to talk about the beauty industry and product-based industry and product and packaging and all the wonderful good things. And so a lot of people out there who are starting beauty brands and they're starting, product-based businesses. And so we're going to talk about how they can really, the secrets that you have and the insight that you have so they can be successful, because a lot of noise out there, and they're not getting the right information and then I get information that they need to be successful, because a lot of people are talking about, the fashion industry, or they're talking about accessories. When it comes to beauty, they really need to have the right information. So I'm so glad you're here with us today. So let's start with my first question is, what do you think is one of your top secrets for having a successful beauty brand and launch?
Oh, such a good question. So one of the main things that a lot of beauty brands or anybody that's in the personal care space or a product-based business, the first thing that you really need to have in place and understand is that investment is required to create your brand. So hear me out on this. So a lot of times we think and see other people from TikTok, from Instagram, et cetera, of how they launch their product-based business with, $100, $500 and such, which is feasible. However, if you're trying to get into the retail space and actually grow your business, investment is required. So you need investment to actually acquire the materials to create your products. You need investment to actually obtain the packaging, for placement on the retail shelf. You need investment to satisfy the shipping of your goods, going from contract manufacturers to your home headquarters or to the retail distribution center. And plus, you need investment to actually keep your operations afloat. When retail says they want to purchase 10,000 units or 100,000 units, you have to still keep the operations going and wait for your payment on the back end, which may be in net terms of 30, 60, 90 days, and in some retailers, 120 days. So investment is critical and the number one thing that a lot of brands need to have in place to ensure that you're set for success and that you're keeping your operations going, as well as getting placement on the retail shelf.
That's good. That's good. I think a lot of people, especially with COVID hitting and everybody going online and so readily available to start a business online, which is great. But understanding that side of it is not going to be the one people talk about the most. And that you have to have the investment, that it does take money. It's old, it's cliche, but it takes money to make money. And so making sure people understand that they have to have that money on hand. And it's not just to start, like you say, but to keep it going, like to grow with their business, right?
Absolutely. And, a lot of people think that, from an investment standpoint that, oh, I'm only launching 50 pieces or I'm only launching 100 pieces or whatever that quantity may be. While that is good, you're in the business of creating a business, not just a hobby. Right. Now, I don't shame anybody who's creating a hobby, because that's how we all get started in our respective areas of focus. However, a lot of you are creating products to make an impact on the world, to make a difference for the end consumer because of the value, the benefits of the product. So yes, guys, regardless of where you're at now, think big and start incorporating these best practices that corporations have in place for your indie and growing brand now.
That's good. That's good. Think for the future, build for the future, because a lot of us think ahead of ourselves, just what's in front of us. And it is kind of scary. You can admit that it's kind of scary to, have that one financial commitment, but it's worth it, what you need. Good stuff. Good stuff. So my next question is kind of going along with that. So that's kind of your number one secret. Make sure you have the investment. But what do you see are some of the common mistakes beyond that a lot of new beauty brands and product-based businesses are making while they're trying to grow?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that I see from brands is that, number one, they really don't understand what is the umbrella of their product. So what I mean by that is understanding what main category you're going to fall under and then breaking it down into those subcategories. So for example, if a brand wanted to launch in Sephora, for instance, that's a perfect example. A brand wants to launch into Sephora. They are creating this product. They go into the sales pitch meetings and showcase their product. And they're saying, yes, I have a beauty product, but what type of beauty product is it? Because think about the umbrella. Beauty is very broad. That is the covering of the umbrella. The that actually hold up the umbrella are the subcategories. So is it skincare? Is it hair care, nail care, fragrance, color cosmetics, etc.? So what is the subcategory that is holding up the net? So in this example, I'm creating a cleanser. So for beauty, it's going to fall under skincare. So then still thinking about the umbrella, what is the stem of skincare? Is it facial? Is it body care? So if I'm creating a facial cleanser, that will fall under facial care as the stem of the umbrella. And then the handle, that is the end product that your consumers are really going to have in their hand. So if I'm creating a cleanser, what type of cleanser is it? Is it a moisturizing cleanser? Is it an exfoliating cleanser? Is it a vitamin C cleanser? What type of cleanser is it? That is actually the handle of that umbrella, which is going to be that end product that the consumers are going to have in their hand. So guys, regardless of where you're at, please make sure that you have your defined umbrella. So knowing the big picture, what is the net under it? What's the stem and what's the handle, which is going to be that end product that consumers are going to obtain. This is the biggest missed opportunities for brands because when they go into these retail pitch meetings, and trying to get placement, et cetera, they don't have a defined strategy to know what the umbrella is for their product. Meaning you may be pitching something, but it may not be a good fit for that respective retailer. In this example, Sephora, because you have not done your homework, you have not done your market research. And then furthermore, from a packaging standpoint, you haven't done your competitive research to know what type of packaging is in alignment with your competitors with placement in Sephora or respective stores. So that's the number one thing and biggest missed opportunity that I see with a lot of indie and startup brands in reference to product placement, not knowing the umbrella for their brands, as well as thinking about incorporating the packaging as well.
Right, that's good. That's good. And I can see a lot of indie brands saying, okay, well, I'm going to create this hair care, I'm making it in my house. I have this wonderful oil, it's fantastic, and that's enough. But you're saying that you have to break it down. So, okay, it's hair care, it's oil, and then kind of all the umbrellas. So when I pitch it to a store, to Amazon, because people that have Amazon, it's kind of been open to a lot of beauty brands lately. I'm pitching to them, you have to really know all your information and all your information and break it down. So you're saying that they do their research. So basically, what kind of resources do they need to do this research so they have all the information that they want?
Great question. So first thing I always recommend to brands is first define what are the 3 words that represent your brand. This is the most critical part of it. And I'm sure, Nicole, you teach this, with your cohorts as well, of understanding what does your brand represent. That's the first thing. A lot of indie and startup brands don't have that in place, and they can't define those 3 words that are representative of their brand. Right. So that's the first thing. Once you have that in place, you're then able to define what the product is and how it's and who the competitors are in the market. So going to your example, Nicole, with the hair care line and creating a hair oil, what type of hair oil is it? Are you looking for something for, for a hot oil treatment? Is this to be applied, directly to the scalp as a targeted treatment to help with hair stimulation, growth stimulation? Is it a light oil like coconut oil or jojoba oil to actually help with sealing your ends? What is the benefit of it? So if you understand the product composition and what you're creating, you can start going to all these retailers, to be honest, that have those same type of products in the market. So a lot of times we think that market research has to be, we have to create it. There's enough products in the industry for you to go and conduct your market research. So my recommendation to brands would be, find a brand that is similar to yours, to the product that you're creating, that has this targeted or the same outcome and benefits that you are creating for your hair care oil. then find where they're actually getting positioned at in retail stores. Are they, if you're doing Moroccan oil, for example, Moroccan oil is in Ulta, it is in Sephora, and countless other places. So go to those retailer sites, look at the reviews from the customers, because they're giving you the feedback and telling you specifically how it's suiting them, what's their pain point, what things are missing from that product, so you could potentially incorporate it into your product. So going to retailer sites, to be honest, is the best way to help start capturing your market research. And then, of course, you can go into, that respective brand's website, look at their reviews, look at their products, etc. So I would say start there. And of course, you can build out the strategy more, with market research. But I always recommend starting at the retailers if you do your proper market research and finding a product that's similar to what you're creating and looking at the reviews. And, that's big market research right there.
I love that, actually. I love the fact that because in retail, we always talk about going to our competitor, because shopping your competition is part of your job. And part of my job when I was in corporate was to shop my competition, see what they were doing, and see what we can do better and what they have on us that we can improve on to get to their same level. That's the same thing you're saying. I love that. So go to these sites that you want to be on and look at their product and see, because the customers will be honest. They're like, well, I give it 2 stars because, the smell wasn't great, or I gave it 5 stars because it was perfect. And so the ones that are saying the smell wasn't great or what has a real bad consistency, you can change that in your product, and that keeps you a competitive edge. I love that.
Exactly. And, even from a packaging standpoint, those are things that I do, and even recommend to my clients. What 3 words are you using to represent your brand? Go and conduct your market research to gauge who your competitors would be in these spaces, and look at the reviews from consumers. I look at that, especially from a package vantage point, as a packaging specialist and expert. So I'm going on to look at these same products to see what they're saying about the product, especially for the packaging. Is it functional? Is it prone to breakage? Is some of the printing actually rubbing off upon usage, and more, to make sure that I'm incorporating the right solutions and more for my clients. So I'm doing the exact same thing, guys. So yes, start with your market research with these retailers.
I love that. That is really, really good. So let's say someone's out there like, hey, Megan, I hear you. I, have my investments. I'm growing my business. I've done my research and I've tweaked my product or where I think it's ready, and I've pitched, and now I want to scale. So now I'm in a few, I'm in one store, a little bit local stores here. Now I want to scale to a bigger brand. What are some of the misconceptions that you see that a lot of indie brands make when they're scaling? So now they have a good foundation. The business is doing a pretty good sales. They've done everything you've talked to them to do. So they're making some headway. Now they want to scale even bigger. But what are some of the common misconceptions you see that they're making?
Oh, that's a heavy loaded question. And it could be so many elements to that, to be honest. But I would say I'm going to do it as 2 parts for this question. So the first misconception that a lot of brands make, especially as they're growing and scaling their product portfolio and their brand, is that they don't think that they need a budget in place.
Right.
And so they think that, if I'm going back to the hair oil, if I'm creating this hair oil that has all these essence and Moroccan oil and all these different ingredients, which is great, and I'm selling the product for $20, well, if it takes you $10 to get your raw materials and your packaging for the lower quantity is $8, you have a $2 profit margin. That's not accounting for retail shelf placement. That's not accounting for shipment and more. So a lot of brands have the misconception that they should not have a budget in place. And furthermore, not allocating a percentage for their for their packaging as well, that's encompassed in their budget. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, still correlated to the budget, is a lot of brands have the misconception that all contract manufacturers should work with them where they are. So what I mean by that is if you're creating this hair oil and you already launched with 500 pieces and now you're trying to go into production for 5,000 pieces, if you're not asking the right questions with these contract manufacturers, you could be out of scope for them. So you may reach out to one contract manufacturer and they may say our minimum order quantity, also referenced as the acronym MOQ, is 10,000 pieces. If you don't have the investment and you don't have the budget to support 10,000 pieces, it's not a good fit for you. And you could be having overage for your inventory, which doesn't make sense, which is then going back to the investment to keep the operations going. So it's a snowball effect. And you may reach out to another manufacturer that say, yes, we can do 5,000 pieces, but we have research and development fees to replicate your formula or reverse engineer your formula. You have testing fees that are associated. So I would say those are the two biggest misconceptions. Part A, not having the proper budget in place, especially a percentage allocated to packaging. But then second part is thinking that all contract manufacturers should work with you where you are. And that's not the case. There's a lot of things in place from a production standpoint to raw material standpoint to meeting the minimum order quantities and more. So make sure you're doing your due diligence, working with contract manufacturers as you're scaling to make sure that they can not only help you where you are now, but what does it look like as you increase your order quantities as well.
So that's a very good point. Oh, I lost her. Hold on, guys. We lost her. Hold on. Okay. Gotta love live stuff. So yeah, talking about the budget, that's really good point that I hear a lot of people say. A lot of people, even with people that I work with, is like they're trying to be cost effective. They're thinking that the lower they price their product, the better people will buy it. They go, well, I'll be the cost leader, but then they're hurting themselves on the other end because you're not making a profit to reinvest, right? So they're not making the profit to reinvest to start to have a budget. One thing which is a really good point. Another question I have for you is about the manufacturer. So that's a really valid point that I think a lot of people are not really going to catch on. They think that, to your point, I've grown, I've made this money, I'm here now, I should be a big enough brand, but they don't really know how the manufacturing part works. So they can go, so where instead of hiring someone like you, of course, would be the first thing they could do. But what's some other ways to do your due diligence? But what are some resources to find the right manufacturer and find out, okay, what kind of manufacturer out there that I can actually support or that can support me? Because they might not know. They might not know what they're capable of, and they might not know what the expectations are to even know who to even join. So how would they find out?
Yes, great point. Yes, very great point. So two ways to do so. Number one, of course, everybody utilizes google.com, Google University to find contract manufacturers. And my recommendation is if you're going to scour Google to find it, which is not effective from a time perspective, but it is doable. And some people like to be hands-on and know every single aspect of the process. So if you are using Google University, make sure that you're actually typing in those keywords for those contract manufacturers. So for instance, if you're creating that hair oil, Google hair oil contract manufacturer. You will have a laundry list of manufacturers that pull up, all over the US. So utilizing the right keywords. And a lot of times, all that information is not going to be readily displayed on contract manufacturer site. You have to actually speak with them and ask them those questions of what are your capabilities? What are the starting minimum order quantities? If I have my own formulation, what is that process? And so you can go through that process, so that's one angle. The second angle is me and my team, because we speak with contract manufacturers day in, day out. And also when we're working with clients, we're looking at our internal network as well. So we will be actually we're collating our whole vendor list and network to actually provide it to Indian startup brands who are looking to scale, knowing the contract manufacturers, knowing what's the starting minimum order quantities, what their capabilities are. So if they're in beauty, are they focused on color cosmetics, nail care, fragrance, sexual wellness, skincare, etc.? we're collating all that information to provide a vendor list that's effective, not just a website, because that doesn't do you any good, to be honest, by just providing just a website. We're really big about educating and also having you just have a one-stop resource where you can see, I'm looking to launch 5,000 pieces. In our vendor list, you'll see who's starting off at 5,000 pieces, starting off at 10,000 pieces. So you can contact the right ones. So we're creating that resource list for people. So if you subscribe to our email list, which we'll definitely share with everybody, you'll get first access of when we'll actually be releasing that. So you don't have to scour the Google University for it. We've done all the heavy work for you and actually vetted these suppliers on your behalf. So it's more strategic conversations. You're ready to actually start working with them and know what the process is to get started as well.
That's good. That's good. I know a lot of people are saying, okay, Megan, I agree with you. I didn't even realize that was an issue because, people are going to be in different stages watching this and they're ready to scale. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was what I had to do. I just thought I had to find a manufacturer and I'm making this kind of money and they'll just, jump on me. But knowing that's a whole other aspect of the business, they wouldn't realize. And so I love the fact that you said that you have that.
Absolutely. And, because I would be honest, some contract manufacturers are working with L'Oreal, they're working with Kendo brands, they're working with Revlon and Estee Lauder. They work with these big conglomerate companies that are leading the industry. And a lot of times we have a misconception that, oh, I'm making this bank, like they should be working with me. Right. When it doesn't necessarily work that way. Like, I'm all for the growth and we're definitely here to cheer you on. But we also have to be realistic and what's a good use of time for everybody too. So your 5,000 pieces with select manufacturers, they may have 100,000 pieces because they're working with Estee Lauder. Right. So that's the biggest misconception, that we talked about, is that understanding where you are and that every contract manufacturer may not be a good fit for you, even though you making good money, they used to a different type of money. So what does that look like? And can their production line support it too? It's a whole technical aspect behind the scenes that a lot of Indian startup brands don't know. But that's where experts on, as part of this 21 Secrets of Retail Success, are really showcasing our value and expertise, because we've all come from corporate. We've worked with these big brands and we know what it is and what it takes, to get to that size. But bite sizes, for us to lead up to that point. But we definitely cheering everybody on for sure.
I love that. And I love that. Yeah. So definitely, if you can't hire someone, Megan, right now, definitely try to think about that. But she gave me a really good idea, guys, about, going to Google and then calling them up. Okay. Say, hey, you know what? This is where I am. What can you do? And then maybe you want to work with that manufacturer. Maybe they said, well, if you get to this point, maybe it takes you a year to get to that point, but where you're going to go in a year and then find where you can go now. So I'm not saying that you can't go with manufacturers with the big guys, but understand what their expectations are before you start expecting things, but then work towards it as a goal. So it's not like saying closing the door on it, but understanding the reality, be real, and have real expectations, real understanding of the industry.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Megan, you kind of alluded before about your email list, but I know you have a free gift for everyone as well to sign up with you. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So everybody that is tuning in as part of the series hosted by Miss Nicole, so big ups to her for having all of us. So first thing is, I drop a lot of gems every single week, which is called my Pimp Your Packaging tips. So Pimp Your Packaging is my proprietary 4-step approach that I utilize when working with clients, as well as the information to ensure that you're set up for success from a packaging standpoint as part of your product development. So PIMP is an actual acronym that stands for Plan, Implement, Monitor, and Prepare for your launch. So just like how I talked about contract manufacturing and some of the things you don't think about, not only on the production side for product formulation, but also on the packaging side. So I drop gems every single week, exclusively on my email list. So make sure you do sign up for my email list, which will definitely be dropping the link for you there. And then as a bonus, you'll also get a mini training as well, where I'm talking about 5 myths around product packaging. So I am debunking a lot of the myths that you may be hearing from sister girl, brother man, your cousin, auntie, uncle, whoever it may be, with creating their products, and not discounting any of them. However, working in this space, being in this space for over 12 years, like I know a thing or two in reference to packaging and some of the common myths around it. So I'm debunking it. So you can get access to it by you being part of this actual series. So really 2 ways, by getting the Pimp Your Packaging tips, dropping segments every single week exclusively to my newsletter, email list, as well as getting the 5 myths around product packaging as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and guys, that will be in the email. We got this video in. We'll have those links on there for you to see. Click here for her free gift, and all that will be there for you. So this was amazing, as I knew it would be. We had a little technical difficulties. We worked through it because the knowledge was still fire, like I knew it would be. So that's really, really good. So thank you for that. Before we go, the one final question. So you gave some great gems, like we both said, but if it was one thing that you want the viewers to take away from, just one thing, what would that be?
I know I said a lot, but I think the biggest thing I would recommend and encourage people to really take away from today is believe in the product that you're producing. That's the biggest thing. If you believe in the product that you're producing, it will definitely radiate with your end consumer, to then get the buy-in and grow and scale your brand into producing larger units, to start working with contract manufacturers, to then acquire investments. HelloAlice.com, y'all should be all going there to look for investments. We're about wealth and not debt, okay? But that's the biggest thing I would really say is believing in the product that you're creating, because it takes investment to create the product that you are putting out to the market. It takes, establishing a budget to make sure that you have the profit to grow and scale your product portfolio and your brand, to start working with the contract manufacturers, to then get placement in the retail shelves and more. So that's the biggest thing. Believe in your product. Know those 3 words that represent your brand. And once you have that defined and everything else that I shared with you all, you'll be on your way towards success, and we'll see you on the retail shelf as well.
I love that. That is perfect way to end this call, end this conversation, is but after everything else, before you can even have all that other stuff, guys, believe in yourself and your product. Well, that was amazing, Megan. Thank you so much. And you have a good rest of your day. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye.